And today we're going to be changing the fuel filter in this 2016 GMC Denali 3500. And if you live in California, this is a super important video to watch if you own a diesel, because there have been some big changes that a lot of people don't know about, and they could be damaging your truck. So let's take a look at it and we'll talk about what those changes are. As far as filters out there, I would just suggest that you go out there and do a little research. I mean, Wix makes some pretty decent racing filters, so I figured they'd probably make a pretty good fuel filter. The model number is right here, as you can see. And yeah, so we are gonna have to take off this. And I don't think you have to do this on the newer trucks, but I think you have to take off the wells on some of the older stuff. The fuel filter is behind this panel. So let's take a look at what we have to take off. It looks like we have some star wrench bolts in there. So yeah, let's get this off so we have access to the fuel filter. All right, so these are T10. Well, the wrench says T10 times 4, which is the same stuff that we've used in the past. We did a thing on the glove compartment in the past. It's the same as those. So it is a T10 star wrench that you will need. I wish they had this. I guess if I was an engineer, I would make it so this panel comes off by itself. Wouldn't that be cool? I mean, rather than having to take off. They may have changed this. Like I said, this is a 2016. I'm not quite sure what a like a later model might do, but this is just this. There you go, Dustin. All right, it's 15 screws. Get this and set this out of the way. Woo! Okay, so here is our fuel filter. The first thing we're gonna do is disconnect the water separator from the bottom, and you see that wire that goes, see that with the blue right there, the blue wire into it, to the bottom of the fuel filter. Very easy. I am gonna need a filter wrench just because I can't get in there. They got this bar right here, which I believe is for the AC, and I just can't get in there. So we're gonna use a filter wrench, and we're gonna have to be real careful. We just definitely don't wanna damage this line right here that goes to the fuel water. Okay. All right, I'm gonna unscrew this. I had a little bit of a hard time with the fuel filter wrench getting stuck in there a little bit, but you wanna be careful. This will be full of fuel. Okay. So the thing you wanna look for is metal filings around the filter. I don't think I can get this piece off without cutting it, so I'm not going to. But, whoops. You definitely wanna look in there for metal filings. And why I say that is because California has removed some of their lubricants out of the diesel fuels, and it's having an effect on some of the GM Duramaxes. You can add, there's stuff you can add. Is it Stadine? I don't know what it is, but there's fuel additives that you can add. And I believe that GM has extended the warranty. Any kind of fuel pump like issues, I think they've extended their warranty to 120,000. I could be wrong, but I believe they have. And if you do have any question, make sure you get it down to your dealer. You know, I normally go to Motor City and do this, but I just want to do this so I can do this. So you can ask them to take a look at your filter, not only change the fuel filter, but please look for metal shavings in there. I use a lot of B20 stuff, which is like a bio diesel fuel they have here in California. It's a little bit cheaper, and it's just in my routes of where I go, there's a lot of it. So yeah, but I'm lucky that I don't see any shavings in here, but I know it's a huge issue. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take the bottom off, and let's put it back together. And I want to show you on priming this thing and why that's important too. You definitely want to make sure you put it on right. So let's get this bottom piece off and put it on the new one. Okay, so this is plastic, so you got to be careful what you take it off with. I know some people will use pliers, but I'm just going to use a plumbing wrench. It shouldn't need a ton, but I'm just going to lightly roll it. And as we mentioned, so I think you're going to get diesel fuel pouring out here, even with this. I emptied it, but I still think you're going to get diesel fuel pouring out of this thing. Let's see if I'm wrong or I'm right. I was right. So, yeah. So there we go. One thing we want to take a look at too is like look in here for any kind of maybe like metal filings or any of that stuff, right? We definitely don't want that. So there is a gasket right here, and this gasket looks pretty good, but I am going to replace it just because it came with the filter, and I feel like it's probably better just to replace it, right? I mean, if you're going to do that, let's just replace it. So let's get this on the new one. But do be careful, because even though I emptied it, expect a lot of diesel fuel to pour out of it. Okay, so this is the new filter oil ring for the lower water thing. You always want to make sure that there's a little bit of diesel fuel on it. Don't put them in there dry. So I already have some of my hands on my gloves here, just enough, right? And we're just gonna push this on. Nice and easy, right? And then we're gonna go over here to this. Now they say, let's see what it says here. Yeah, so it says like once you actually get it on here tight, once you feel it go tight, then you go around 1/2 turn, okay? So we're gonna go around 1/2 turn on this thing, right? Just want to make sure the ring has a little bit of diesel fuel on it. That way it slides around, you know, when you put it in. Okay. And it does look a little different. Let me show you the difference. So this is an AC Delco. You can see the Wix one. It looks a little bit different on that top. See that right there? Which makes me believe, I want to make sure that, yeah, that don't come off. Oh, this did, okay, yeah. So this was on there, I take it back. Okay, so yeah, this is what it looked like before. Nicole helped me out with that. I was all, dang, that looks weird. Okay, so yeah, that's what it looks like. And then we're also going to, before I do this, put your finger on this thing and get a little bit of, and the reason why this is important too, let me get a little bit of this diesel fuel out here. The reason why it's important to get diesel fuel on this stuff right here, because sometimes this stuff can stick real bad when you try to remove it if you put it on there dry, like it just like it adheres to the deal. So this thing says when you put it on, you get it on there tight, and then you turn it 1/4 turn tight. So this is a 1/2 turn tight, and this is a 1/4 turn tight. Let's go put it back on. It's like the man, the right one. Okay, so I felt it kind of get tight there, right? And when it says put it 1/4 turn. I think that's gonna do it, just because I can't do it anymore. I mean, there's probably people out there with stronger hands than I do, but I don't think I gotta kill it. But I put it on there almost as like firm to the touch, but that's a 1/4 turn right there, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change gloves because my gloves are a mess. I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna wipe it all down, let's plug that back in, and then we're gonna talk about priming this thing, which is super important. So hang on for that. All right, so I decided to remove this. I maybe didn't need to, but for video purposes, I think it's probably good to have it off. So this is the fuel filter primer, the pump right here. But first we need to loosen up this screw. See that screw right next to it, that plastic one? And that's gonna allow the air to bleed out of it. Okay, now I'm gonna see here how good this is. This is, you have two options. You gotta, yeah, that's good. So you do have a flathead, and I'm not gonna take it off. I don't wanna take it off. You can kind of feel it get loosey-goosey right here, and that's where you want it, right? And then all we're gonna do now is we are going to pump this. Let's just keep pumping it. I'm gonna use my screwdriver here. Make sure I use the nice end of it. Let's see here. You can hear the air coming out. So just do like nice pumps, and then if I'm not mistaken, if we're lucky, if everything's right, we should start seeing a little bit of fuel come out of that deal. Okay, see that right there? Now we're just going to, I'm gonna let it bleed one more time. And I'm gonna give it one slow deal, okay? just a slow one. Actually, the best way to do this actually is to push on this. If you can have someone help you, or you can probably do it with your hand. I'm gonna do it. I can't film it, but listen to what I'm telling you. Push that thing down once, and when you see the fluid start coming out, like tighten it. Let's see what happens. All right, that did work really good. So the final step is pushing that thing down, then tightening the screw as you have it pushed down. That way air can't suck back into it. And you know what, the reason why you need to, it's really important to do this, because if you didn't prime that fuel filter, I can almost guarantee, well, I mean, worst case scenario, you could do some damage to the motor. I don't think that would happen, but you could, I guess. But another thing that would really be a bummer is that your check engine light would come on. And then now you're gonna have to, if you can't clear it yourself, now you gotta go to the dealership and have them clear it, which of course costs money. So it's very important to make sure that you prime that fuel filter. All right, so our next step is, let's put this back together and let's fire it up, and hopefully, and oh, one more thing too, really make sure you go through and clean all this dry, not only because you don't want your truck smelling like diesel fuel, but that way you can see if something's leaking, right? If you got something leaking, you want to be able to know. So make sure everything's dry, so when you fire it up, you can feel around with your hands and just make sure nothing's doing, you know, what it's not supposed to do. Okay, Nicole, go ahead, fire it up. Looks pretty good. I don't feel any leaks. Well, we did get it all done. That feels good, and I was excited to see that there wasn't a bunch of metal in our fuel filter. You know, one thing I'd like to ask, and maybe some people here will chime in on it, and that is, does the B20 have maybe more lubricant in it than the regular diesel fuel? And I'm not smart enough to know that. I know that there's two different processes to making that diesel fuel, and I just wonder if maybe the B20, a lot of people don't like running the B20 because they think it's dirtier, but maybe there's more protection in it. I'm not sure. But anyway, no damage. And if you're in California and you have like a 2018 or 19 or older, definitely keep an eye on that fuel filter.